Okay, hello and welcome everyone into today's video. So we have talked a lot about how we can build applications using 5, but today we will talk about how we can debug applications inside 5. Now, of course, when we are creating applications, debugging them is like a very important part of it. So let's just talk about how we can do the same thing inside 5. Okay, so what I have here is a very simple 5 demo application. Now I have shown this application in my previous videos, but let's just see it again. So once you select your application, you'll have access to this blue manage button. So go ahead and click on that. And now you're inside the development environment of 5. So let me just go ahead and run the application, but this time instead of just clicking on the run button, I'll just click on the inspect button. Now if you click on the inspect button, 5 now runs your application in a debugger mode. And now basically you'll have this very same application, but you'll also have access to a debug menu. So first things first, let me just show you the app. So we agreed with the terms and conditions page. Let's just accept that and we click on continue. Now it's a very simple property finder application where we have managers and customers. Now customers can go to this form and make booking about a particular property. And once they have filled up this form, they can click on submit and then their request is sent to managers. They get data sets, dashboards, they can send out survey requests to a particular customer about a particular property, and then also look at individual customers. Okay, so what I have here right now is, as I shown earlier, is a customer form where customers can basically select any property they would like to visit. So let's say we select 1 Alexander Street. Select our customer name, which is Prinoy. My city is Brisbane. Select the booking time as any date. I can just select as the next day, 27th, and my email. Okay, so let's click on submit, and now turns out that we have an error. So let's just figure out how we can tackle this. Okay, so we have a reference error. Okay, now if you remember, we ran our application with the inspect option rather than the normal one. So now that gives you access to this debug menu, which is called as the 5 inspector. So now our logs are completely empty because we haven't logged anything. But now if you go to the execution tree, you actually get to see which function was executed with this when we clicked on the submit button. So as you can see, we have the booking request function was executed. So if you click on that, now file actually shows you the entire function. Of course, you get other things as well, as you can see the function variables and the execution log of that particular function as well. But right now we know that there is some problem with this function because that's the only function that's being executed. So why don't we go back to 5 and see what's wrong with it? Okay, so going back to our development environment, clicking on logic and then code editor. Once inside the code editor, what you want to do is you want to open existing functions and then let's look for that function that was creating errors. Now that was called as the booking request. So let's click on that. Now we know that there is some problem with this function. Now either I can go line by line and try to figure out what's exactly wrong with it, or what I can do is I can just highlight a particular section of code and ask 5 to check for errors. Now 5 will start processing it. And now 5 just clearly told me that there's a typo in the code. Context should be context in the line const booking time is equal to this one. So there's something wrong when we are declaring our booking time variable. And as 5 suggested, there is a typo here. So let's just fix that by calling it context. And now my function should be good. So let's just go over this function. What exactly does it do? Okay. So this is a very simple function where we are trying to just populate our customers table, which contains all our customers. And then we call in that execute query by using 5.execute query. Then we check for errors. And then we call a function called as send to Slack, which is this function, which is a very simple function which just sets up an HTTP client and which sends a post request to a webhook provided to us by Slack. So basically it just sends a message to a particular channel inside Slack whenever a customer has made a booking. Okay, so again, a very simple function. And so let's go and click on save. Let's click on save all tabs and run our function and see what changes we have brought to application. Okay, so we agreed with the terms and conditions page. Now let's go back to our custom form. Okay, so let's just start filling in our custom form. Select a property, name. There's a spelling mistake there, but let's just let it be. My city, some date, and my email. Now, what I'm expecting out of this when I click the submit button is that whenever I click on the submit button, now what I'm expecting is that whenever I click on my submit button, then here on this workspace inside this channel in Slack, we should get a message or a notification from a bot that a customer has made a booking. So let's see if that works. Let's click on submit. Okay, so my details have disappeared and we didn't get any error. So we have successfully debugged that part, but now let's see if we are getting notifications inside Slack. So if you open up Slack, it looks like that we still didn't get the notification that we were expecting. So let's minimize Slack and let's just go back into 5. Okay, so now we are inside our function. Okay, so we didn't really get the result that we were expecting. By that, we didn't get the notification inside our Slack workspace. So going back to our send to Slack function, here we are sending in a post request and we are getting a response inside HTTP results. So let's try logging that response inside 5 and see what exactly are we getting in return. So we can actually log the response by actually typing 5.log. And then what you want to do is you want to stringify any object that you want to print. So JSON.stringify, and then we can pass in the object. What this does is that basically logs the response that we're getting inside the inspector. So through that, we can see if we are actually getting our desired results or not. So let's save it. Let's save it again, and let's run our application with the inspect menu. And let's see. Okay, we are greeted with the terms and conditions page again. Let's click on continue. Going back to my customers page, booking request. Quickly, let's fill up this form because we're just doing this to get the results. And we type in an email. Let's open up the inspector. And now when I click on submit, I should be getting a log here which contains the response. So let's click on submit. And now as you can see, I've gotten my JSON object over here. So what we can do is we can double click inside this and just copy it. And personally, what I recommend is going online or any other JSON prettier that you have. I personally like to use jsonformatter.org. And now we can just paste the object over here. Okay, and here we have a more readable format of it. And we can clearly see that this is not the desired result we were expecting. It's clearly something broken. So we know that the result that we are getting is not the desired result. So let's go back to 5. So that means that we have made an error here somewhere. And if you pay close attention to it, we just realize that there is a simple typo in the URL where services has 2S. Now don't ask me how did we get that typo, but it just did. So let's just quickly fix that. Let's click on save. And now this time, except stringifying the results, let's just log this. Let's just log something which we can be a success with an exclamation marks. And let's remove any old logs that we have. Let's click on save. Let's now finally run our application with the inspector. And now going back to my customer form, but this time Let me open up Slack just next to it. Okay, so we select a property, type in a name, city, select a booking time, and finally an email. And now we click on submit, and bam, we get a notification inside Slack. Not only that, we also got a log which says success over here. Okay, a couple of more things too which we can cover inside the inspector, such that it also shows you the queries which have been called from inside the function. So if you remember, inside a booking request over here, we were calling this SQL queries. So the inspector even recognizes that and will show you what it was like before the query, or what it was after the query, and the results. It also shows all of the global variables that it was maintained inside 5. So again, it's a very powerful tool that you can use to debug your applications. Now, this was just a rough overview of it, of how you can use it. And of course, feel free to explore it on your own. And that's it for today's video. If you like the video, make sure to subscribe for our future videos. And till then, thank you everyone, and see you all very soon.